The hosts feel it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to. Well, we've warned you. Hello, and welcome once again to the Frankencast. I'm the mad scientist, Anthony Bowman. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm joined as always by...
that one dangling plot hook that is Eric Velasquez. My pronouns are also he, him. That has to do with the mom. We never really find out who the murderer is.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff in here that it seems strange that they didn't do more with than they did. So I guess before we get into this one, new movie, so we're gonna be talking to Lisa Frankenstein. We're gonna get into some spoilers and stuff, so if you've not gotten to see this one yet and don't want to be spoiled, you may want to steer clear on this one. But I guess we can kind of talk about our impressions at the start and before we get into the spoiler territory.
Fair enough. Also, trigger warnings essay. That's most of it.
Yeah.
Castration?
Very, very comical castration.
Oh, yeah. It's the funniest I've ever seen that happen. The scene was so demented and hilarious at the same time. It was good stuff.
Yeah, and seeing it in a theater, like the entire theater just lost it. Everyone was dying laughing at that bit. It was really fun seeing it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, so our impressions. I think that it's honestly a pretty good movie. We talked about it, and as far as we were aware, a lot of critics didn't like it.
Yeah.
But, it's a demented, fun love story.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, critics tend to not love, like, horror things, but, like, it did seem like even, like, the horror press was kind of just like, it's meh. And I thought it was better than that. Like, I thought, it's not the best movie of the year, like, but it's a lot of fun. It's got a good love story that is, like, charming and kind of silly, and I could see people maybe getting tired of, like, the 80s nostalgia thing. I feel like we're really leaning into that lately, but I thought it did it well, and it wasn't, like, really super heavy-handed. It wasn't just, like, everything is neon, like things are often. Yeah, and, I thought it... Like, I remember, like, when I heard the title, I was like, hell yeah, this sounds amazing. And then when I saw the first trailer, I was like, I don't know, this looks more like a zombie movie. I don't know how this is a Frankenstein story. I was a little hesitant. But then, like, the Frankenstein aspects of it do come clear as the movie goes. And yeah, it's super fun.
They kind of cheat a little bit in that regard, though, as well.
Yeah. But, like, and the two main characters, they have a lot of good chemistry, which is tricky when you have a character that's a monster that's kind of like a non-speaking role for the majority of the movie, and kind of like under a lot of weird makeup and stuff, especially because he's kind of like he's from like Riverdale, and is supposed to be like one of the kind of like heartthrob kids or whatever, so like burying him under weird zombie makeup is a strange choice, but I thought he did a good job in it. I thought like he managed to do all the like miming stuff well and kind of be a good silent character.
That would be Cole Sprouse from I believe Sweet Life.
Oh, was he in that
deck
too?
With Zach and Cody? Yeah, I don't remember if he was Zach or Cody.
Okay,
but him and his twin brother were in that.
Yeah, I just knew him as he's Jughead on Riverdale. But yeah, that's really
honestly fun. Though, like he's a solid actor in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like the
fact that he could pull off so much with almost no speaking lines.
Yeah. That takes like that often comes up when we talk about like Karloff in the first Frankenstein. Is like you have to do so much with so little, and it takes a certain kind of actor to pull it off. And I think he did it.
Yeah, 100%.
And
Lisa is played by Katherine Hahn, who I only think I really only know her from Freaky, but she's really good in that.
Oh, you mean Catherine Newton?
Or Newton, yes, not Katherine Hahn. That's a different famous Katherine.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's
also a good movie.
Yeah, she's charming in both of them. She's got she's just got like a kind of a fun energy, and it really works for this movie.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, just the fact that they take so much out of the 80s and make it much more approachable, but like still keep that authenticness. Like, as someone who has interacted with the 80s in real time,
yeah,
like, albeit as a child, it was still like, oh yeah, I saw people do this. Well, not the murder part that you know of. But anyway, no, the whole school interactions and older kids thing.
Yeah. All right, you want to get into it?
Let's get into this horse and pony show. From the jump, we get this interesting animated scene that's kind of reminiscent of Tim Burton and kind of like The Corpse Bride. Where everyone's a little emaciated, everyone's pale. I mean, it's black and white.
Yeah, and it's almost like shadow puppets. Like, you can't quite, there's not a lot of detail, but it like, it kind of reminded me of like a lot of Pixar openings where it's like they will tell a whole story during the credits, and then you end up in like a new story afterwards. I mean, like Up is famous for like the really upsetting tearjerker credit sequence.
Right.
And I
feel like this did take inspiration from that, right?
Yeah, because I mean it's this whole like love story with these two characters. They fall in love. The guy is a composer. He's playing songs. She's like leaning over the piano there with him and everything. And then he dies, and we get like his gravestone and everything. And that's sort of the we have this whole love story unfolding and ending before the credits are over. Right. And then we go to present day, 1980s present day.
Well, we get the title card with her literally doing the scrubbing or the pencil etching on his tombstone, which his last name is Frankenstein.
Yes. Yeah, she's like the classic goth girl. So yeah, she's in this like little cemetery in the middle of the woods doing like the stone rubbing. Gets Frankenstein on there,
very
and then
Mary Shelley of her.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like even like our Mary Shelley movie that we watched a couple months ago. Just hanging out, sitting next to her mom's gravestone. But yeah, then she like takes out I think lipstick or something and writes Lisa above it, and like it's very good. And so we'll find out like she is just kind of like a morbid goth girl, but like this particular grave is special to her because it has like a monument on top of it that's like a stone carving of this guy, and she just like talks to him like she's just kind of a loner, and this is like her sort of imaginary boyfriend in a way.
Right. But like we don't linger on that for too long because we immediately cut to her getting ready.
Yeah, she's like a pretty classic like 1980s like girl's room with a big vanity and all kinds of like hair, a lot of hair supplies, hair brushes and spray and
a lot of aerosol cans
and all that. So she's getting ready, and then she is joined by her stepsister, Taffy.
Hell of a name.
Yeah. And we find out like Lisa, she's shy, she's a little awkward, nervous, and they're going to a party together, and Taffy's being, trying to be the supportive sister, and like, yeah, you're gonna go.
She's trying to socialize her, effectively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like you got to get out, you got to meet people. This will be good for you.
Right.
And Lisa's skeptical, and Taffy's like, you know what you should do? It'll make you feel more confident. You should use my tanning bed. We find out she won like some sort of beauty pageant, and the award was
Miss Hawaiian Tropic.
Right. And she got a tanning bed as her winnings. So they keep it in the garage, and Lisa gets in, but when they like turn it on, something happens and she gets shocked instead.
Right. Which, you would have thought that's a funny little gag, right?
Yeah.
It's a plot point. So enjoy that.
Yeah, it's actually very important to the movie.
It's super important.
Yeah. So then we just cut to them like in the
Amazing.
car driving to the party. They're talking about boys. Taffy wants to know about if Lisa's got a crush on anybody, and Lisa's like, yeah, it's this guy Michael. He's the editor of the lit mag at school. They've published a couple of my poems.
But he's different from other boys. He's more cerebral. And I like how Taffy immediately says, he's in a wheelchair? Or, no, that's our friend later. But, yeah, still. It's like, cerebral palsy.
Yeah. Yeah, Taffy is actually like a really well-written character. Like she's kind of like the dumb popular girl in a lot of ways. She's a cheerleader, she's more vain than her sister and all, there's a lot of the kind of like tropey stereotype stuff. But there's a little bit more to her, like she's not a bitch. She cares about her sister. She's not like, she's not like the mean girl Cordelia from Buffy kind of character. Like she's genuinely like a good person who just happens to also be, kind of a vain teenager, which is probably, a little more realistic to what, of course teens have, misplaced priorities to some degree. They're teenagers, but that doesn't mean that they're like monsters.
Right. Well, I think it's interesting that Taffy has taken on over Lisa and her stepfather so much. We're going to find out that she's actually really close to both of them, even though they came into her life relatively recently.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that she has that much depth, that she's, binding herself to this other part of her family so readily.
Absolutely,
We find out her mom, not so much.
Yeah, her mom's definitely like the villain of the movie.
Or at least in the beginning. Mm-hmm. We get an old switcheroo somewhere along the lines, but we'll talk about that when we get there.
Yeah. They also talk about, like, I think they're like maybe stuck in traffic or something. Lisa says something about like there's a shortcut we can cut through the woods into the cemetery to get to the party. And Taffy's like,
why?
Yeah, no, I don't like being around. It's creepy. She talks about a bunch of like the really standard issue 1980s satanic panic kind of stuff. She's like, I heard that this one kid like sacrificed a baby there to be the, like just a bunch of like satanic nonsense that everybody believed in the 80s.
They unsanctified the graveyard that Lisa likes to go to.
Yeah. But Lisa's like, yeah, but I think it's nice. It's quiet. I can get a lot of thinking done there, and I like to talk to the people there, like
they're alive.
Yeah. And yeah, Taffy definitely thinks that's weird. But then at that point they arrive at the party and they kind of part ways. Taffy's got her friends that she wants to talk to.
Right. Well, Taffy also, and this is a good bit, by the way. Taffy actually goes into Lisa's backstory effectively as to why their family's together. But I like that every time they cut back to her friend group, there's one more each time. I was like, all right, this is good.
It's so, because at first it's just the one girl and she's like, just keep, like she's still kind of sensitive about this, so keep this to yourself, I don't want this to be a big gossipy thing or anything, but
just between you and me.
Yeah, and she starts telling the story, and then as it cuts back and forth, that she's telling like a rapt group of girls that are all just like sitting there like eyes wide, hanging on every word.
Effectively what happened is that Lisa and her mother were home alone one night. A guy broke in, killed the mom, and somehow Lisa hid and missed. They missed her, and they never caught the guy. He was never caught again, or whatever. They never saw him again. So he's on the lam. He's out there somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the 80s, so of course there's going to be some like slasher movie kind of stuff. And you only get like one really quick shot of the killer, but I'm pretty sure he's wearing a Bride of Frankenstein mask. Just like one of the like plastic ones with the elastic band around it.
That were common in the 80s.
Yeah, exactly.
Those fucking things. Like I can still like smell that smell right now.
Yes.
I remember wearing the fucking trash bag costumes and that awful smelling mask.
Yeah, my very, very first Halloween costume when I was, like 3 or 4 was Big Bird, and it was one of those. Just it's like the mask has a smell, and then the shirt is like made out of rubber, and that has a smell. There's
Yeah. And you are not sneaking around fucking anywhere with that thing, because it's basically a trash bag.
Absolutely, yeah.
With holes in it. Yeah.
But yeah,
I kind of want them to bring those back, just so kids will be like, "Oh, it sucked for you." Yes.
Yeah, we've got it pretty good now. Spirit Halloween is next level.
Right, no shit.
Yeah.
Which is wild, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's an interesting kind of angle to just, and as we kind of like were watching the movie, we were talking to each other, and like there's going to be 3 or 4 little nods to slasher movies as we go. Lisa being sort of a final girl in a way is the first of many. But so while this sort of sequence, the party kind of like goes back and forth. We get like Taffy telling backstory. Then we go back to Lisa and back and forth. Lisa.
Right. Well, and also Lisa's Lisa comes up to Michael Trent, and he's there with his goth friend. I believe her name's Tamara.
Okay.
Did they even say her name?
I don't think they ever did. Yeah, I just kept writing Michael's friend.
But man, Tamara sucks so bad.
Yeah, she's such a bitch.
She's like the friend that. Yeah, it's clear she has a romantic interest in Michael. He obviously doesn't feel the same way about her, but she's there to block every fucking one that comes into his life.
Absolutely, yeah.
And she's there with a solo cup of some special substance that she's not sure what it is. And was she trying to get Michael to drink it?
Yeah, she had 2 of them, and I think she gave one to Michael, and Lisa was like, "I'll take one," and
but they were talking about the smell as well. It's weird smelling, right?
Yeah. So, but Lisa's trying to be cool. She's trying to. This is the crush she was talking about on the ride over. So she just like chugs this whole cup, and like instantly you can tell like her vision. We get like from her viewpoint.
It's spiked.
Yeah. There's something in it. It's not just booze. There's something beyond that, and so her vision's blurry. She's kind of stumbling around.
Whether it's Rohypnol or LSD, the question's up in the air. Could be either one.
And so she kind of like starts to stumble. Like she never even made it inside. She's like out in the yard. She starts stumbling into the party. Meanwhile, behind her, we see that there's like storm clouds gathering in the distance and lightning striking. So the storms. Yeah. Of course, lightning. We're always going to see some lightning in a Frankenstein movie.
Yep. And then she immediately gets approached by Sketchy Doug.
Yeah. It was like as soon as this happened, like it started, I was like, I think I know where this is going, and I'm really hoping I'm wrong. I want to get.
I immediately turned to you and go, "Oh no!"
Yeah. It was like I want to give this kid the benefit of the doubt because he was, but that's the thing. Like he was acting cool and like seemed like he was doing the right thing, and that's how they get you. Lisa's like sitting on the floor behind the couch, kind of like out of it, and he's like, "Oh, you look like you're not doing so well. Let me help you."
But the entire time he's walking her towards the back of the house. Right?
Yeah.
There's plenty of good bathrooms that they could have stopped along the way. But they just keep going.
Yeah. He's framing it like let's get you away from the noise and all the lights and everything. I can tell you're not doing well, which makes sense. But yeah, like you said, it's a very intentional thing that he's taking her away where no one's going to hear her and she can't, he has her to himself. And sure enough,
and no one can interfere.
Absolutely, yeah. So they end up in like a back bedroom, and she sits down. He sits down next to her, and kind of like at first is acting comforting, and like they're lab partners, so like they know each other from school and everything.
Right. And then he asks the ominous question, "How does that feel?" And it's like, "Oh fuck, what's he doing?" Because she's clearly still stoned.
Yeah, and the camera is just from like the neck up on both of them when he says it, and then it like cuts to like a little further out shot, and we see that. He just has, he's groping her chest. He's just got like one hand on one boob. And if that wasn't, like, that's obviously is plenty bad enough. But then he uses that as like a weird leverage thing. He like grabs her hand and he's like, well, you started this and now you got to finish it, as if she somehow caught, And so she's, he, and obviously is trying to do a date rape here, but instead...
And this is when the storm actually starts picking up, and he's like, oh, that's the Angels bowling.
Yeah, and Lisa kind of uses it as a distraction, kind of like stumbles out of the room really fast, ends up, I think, just completely stumbles out of the party,
Yeah, but this is really fucking cool when she's doing this, all right? Because as she's stumbling out, it like half transitions between the forest because there's a monument that appears like in the house or in the doorway of the house as she's leaving. Like you see it in profile.
Yeah.
But then it cuts back to the rest of the house, and then she's out in the woods somewhere all of a sudden.
Yeah. And, she's kind of, in a daze, and the music is like a sad cover of I Can See Clearly Now.
Right.
The rain is gone, and then, the storm's picking up and everything. And, of course, we just had that song in Igor a couple weeks ago. So, I don't know, funny coincidence there.
It was much happier then, though.
yeah. There it was like the happy blind kids, and here it's the sad drugged girl. Very, very different vibes.
Right.
But yeah, she ends up at the cemetery as the storm starts to pick up, and looks at the stone that she always talks to, and says, "I wish I was with you." And then I think we just cut.
80s and wishing, it just happens, right?
Yeah. It was a classic back then for just these sort of like magical Freaky Friday kind of wish movies. At the end of last year, we had that It's a Wonderful Knife that was a very similar. It's a Wonderful Life kind of turned into a horror movie. But yeah, here I think once she says that, we just cut to her like she's back at home. And she's in the bathroom looking at herself in the mirror, which I thought, we always get a good mirror scene in this, and it's kind of nice that it's not the creature, it's her, and she's upset with herself. She just had this bad experience, and, it's incredibly common after that to, like, feel disgusted with yourself, maybe push some blame on yourself. It's not your fault, but, people often feel that way.
Right.
So she's looking at herself, and in a rage, she punches the mirror and shatters the glass.
Right, and I believe at that exact moment, that's when lightning strikes the grave.
Yeah.
Man. And then we get to go through Smashing Pumpkins 1979.
Yes. Yeah, so like she, goes and lays down, falls asleep, and has this dream that's in black and white. It's very like Victorian Gothic kind of like dream sequence. And they do a good job.
Like, dolls are turning and looking at her.
Yeah. And she's got like her hair is really like big and piled up high, and it's like a really
kind of like Bride.
Yeah, it very, very much looks like the Bride of Frankenstein, but it's like slightly less like absurd. Like it almost looks like Marie Antoinette as well. Like it's a little bit more believable as something that a person might have, but like, I mean, it's obviously leaning towards the Bride of Frankenstein.
Right. But she turns and, hey, there's the statue, but it's a stone boy statue. Yeah,
it's like it's still stone, but it's alive now, and it's looks at her. He like hands her a pack of bubble gum, and they like hold hands, and like the gum just like
we get some weird product placement for like, what is it, Freshen Up gum or something like that.
Yeah, some just like very 80s bubble gum. And yeah, they hold hands, and the gum gets like squished and like drips out, pink ooze between their hands. And then they sit down and watch Méliès's movie Voyage to the Moon, which is much more familiar to most of us as the Tonight video, which also becomes a motif throughout this movie several times.
Not Tonight, but the man in the moon getting shot in the eye with a rocket.
Yes, yeah, that particular shot is a big part, and
she even has a poster of it.
Yeah, she has a poster of it in her room, and it seems like she's just into classic Gothic kind of stuff. There's a point later where, or no, I think it was at the party. The Doug asked her what her favorite director was, because he was like, "You're into movies," and
Pabst.
She said Pabst, and he was like, "No, that's what beer I have. What's your director?" And she's like, "No, G.W. Pabst. He's a classic silent director." So she's just. She's one of those arty kids who's, I was this kid, like, I get it. Like, you want to be into the cool, obscure stuff that, like, the regular people don't know about so you can seem smarter. I've been there. But yeah, so I think after the rocket crashes into the moon, she wakes up, And Taffy is standing over her, checking on her because she was, like, you disappeared from the party last night. Are you okay? And Lisa's like, yeah, it was fine. And Taffy has like pulled back her blankets and is like, your knees are really dirty.
Well, and her hands down her pants.
Yeah, and Lisa's like, I fell on my way home, and she's like, oh yeah, sure, girl, me too, definitely right. Fell, got those knees dirty.
My knees,
yeah. But again, Taffy's not judging her. She's just like, if
it happens,
yeah,
right?
And so then they head downstairs. We've got like the whole family like having breakfast, and this is where we meet.
We get a face full of Carla Gugino as Janet.
Yeah, and I have such a crush on Carla Gugino, and she's so awful in this movie. It hurt me. Like, it was just sad. And but they did a great job of making her just like a trashy like 80s mom. Like, she doesn't look like how she normally does. She's in like bad neon and got kind of teased out hair and stuff.
Right. With too much makeup.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And she is pissed at Lisa for the broken mirror in the bathroom.
By the way, the dad is Joe Crest, a.k.a. Dad Wheeler from fucking Stranger Things. So this dude is the quintessential, like, neglectful 80s dad.
Yeah. And that's exactly what he, like, Janet, the stepmom, is really letting into Lisa, and Dad's just, like, sitting there.
Yep.
Yeah, he's just, he's just like, whatever you say, dear, like, there's
Did you see that ball lightning? That was pretty crazy last night, right?
Yeah. And Janet's like, you got to do something. He's like, okay, you're going to go clean up the mirror? And kind of looks at Janet like, is that enough? Did I do a good job? And she's like, more. And he's like, and you're going to pay for the mirror out of your allowance. And Janet's like, okay, fine.
Right.
That's enough.
Right. Well, and she's like, listen, I know you're dealing with the death of your mother and everything, but, my dad died in Da Nang, and you don't see me whining about it, clearly with trauma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Her
like,
dad died in Korea.
I've taken this generational trauma and made me turn into a bad person, but that's it. This was,
so you should do the same.
Mm-hmm, absolutely, yeah. You just shove it all down, and then you can abuse your kids later, and then we'll just keep it going.
Yeah. Keep that cycle going.
Yeah. They end up turning on the TV, and there's like a news report that during the lightning storm, several graves at the local. It's called like Bachelor's something cemetery.
Is it literally Bachelor's grave?
I think so. It's something like that. Yeah, and there was this lightning strike, and of course Lisa recognizes that's her place. And then I think we just cut from there to Lisa at work, which this whole work scene seemed weird. It was like a whole new set, this whole thing for like a 2-minute scene that could have been anywhere else.
Well, so it is set up for later, because we find out she's a seamstress, apparently a pretty good one. Her boss sucks because Michael Trent comes in with Tamara, and he's like, hey, sorry for giving you that clearly spiked drink that we were pretty sure was spiked. So we kind of set you up effectively.
Mm-hmm.
And then her boss is like, hey, are you friends with her? Because, like, she's lonely and she never goes out. And, like, that's why I hired her, because she doesn't have any friends or do anything on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just such a dick. And, yeah,
Michael just wants to go.
Yeah, Michael came in there because he's got a stain. Like, it's like I guess a kind of a cross between like a tailor and a dry cleaner or something. And they do just like any kind of like clothing repairs. And Michael's like, I have a stain on these jeans from this party. And the guy's like, oh, did you spill some red wine? And he's like, nope, fruit punch. And he's like, yeah, okay,
yeah, sure.
So yeah, Michael's kind of he's nice to Lisa in this moment, and even though Tamara's like trying to drag him out, and they leave. And then I think we get just like Lisa getting home from work. Then the family is like finishing up dinner, and they saved her one slice of pizza.
Meat pizza, man. I guess she's vegetarian.
Yeah, it seems to be implied that she's either a vegetarian or at least doesn't really like meat much. And this slice is just completely like buried in sausage. Like,
It's like they took all of the meat off of their, like, it's probably Taffy and Janet took all the meat off theirs and put it on that one slice.
Yeah. And they're like, you can have that slice, and then we're all going to go see Look Who's Talking. And Lisa's like...
She's like, nah, I'll skip it.
Yeah, I'm tired from work. And Janet's like, I don't understand how you could get tired from work. You're just like sitting over a sewing machine like an old lady all day. That shouldn't take much.
Clearly that manual labor isn't very tiring, right?
Right. She's like, not like Taffy, who's doing cheerleading and she has to work so hard, and it's all this, athletic work, and she's going to be doing the splits on top of the pyramid, all that time spreading her legs.
She's going to get her back tucked. Yeah.
And
getting slammed against the wall or something like that.
Yeah.
Pinned against the wall. That's right.
Yeah. Yep. So then I think the family does end up leaving. Lisa's home alone, and instead of watching Look Who's Talking, she sits down to watch Day of the Dead.
Frankly, that was a good decision.
Absolutely.
She made the right call.
Yeah.
But also, that's when we get the shadow moving in the windows. We get our ghoul, or the creature.
Yeah, and looks just like a zombie here at the beginning, just, covered in mud, all decayed looking, kind of shambling into the house. Obviously, the worst thing you would want to see if you're, anytime, but especially when you're in the middle of Day of the Dead.
Watching a zombie movie.
Yeah, so... Lisa panics, she runs, and of course, she's experienced a previous home invasion, so this is extra scary for her. She runs upstairs and then tries to, climb out her window and,
she does the stupid horror girl thing where she runs up the stairs and it tries to get out the window. And he just follows her up, well, to a degree. Mm-hmm. And she climbs out onto her roof, which, okay, I get that. But she takes forever to do it.
Yeah.
So he goes right back out, and he's literally just staring up at her.
Yeah. So she, kind of tries to climb down, is holding the gutter, ends up falling. Mm-hmm. She just lands right on top of him.
And then we get a big gush of liquid coming out of him.
Yeah, just some kind of bile, vomit stuff just splashes at her face.
Grave juice.
Yeah. And then we get, this extended bit where, he's kind of chasing her around the front yard. It's it's a classic white picket fence yard. And then we just see across the street, her neighbors are just sitting in lawn chairs watching this all happen. And they're just like...
In the middle of the night.
Yeah. That neighbor girl, she's just so strange. And she's just not like her sister.
She's a cute cheerleader. What's wrong? Yeah, she's a cute cheerleader, right? And then they're like, no, she's the other one.
Yeah. No, that's the sister. She's the normal one. The girl across running around now, she's new. She's just the weirdo. And then eventually Lisa runs back inside. She picks up a phone and is going to call 911. But then she looks over and the monster ghoul zombie guy has just sat down and is listening to a record and just enjoying it.
Well, he's listening to her conversation too, though.
Yeah.
She can't make the call out.
Yeah.
He's listening on her shoe phone.
Yeah.
Her landline shoe phone.
Yep, classic. And so she's like, okay, he's not trying to hurt me. I guess maybe this is okay. So she's like, do you like this music? Do you like this song? And he's just kind of, moans and kind of just stands there. And she's like, well, I've got other stuff. I've got The Cure. And he touches himself. Huh? You can cure me? And she's like, no, it's not
that one.
Yeah, not that kind of cure. It's just music. It can't make you better. Well, it can, but only emotionally.
Yeah.
Very good cure joke.
Yep.
And then, he points to the wall where he sees his name, as a gravestone rubbing. And she's like, that's you? And then he shows that we didn't mention that at one of the points earlier when she's visiting him, she takes off a rosary that was her mother's and hangs it on
puts it on his statue.
Yeah, and he has it now, so she can tell this is the guy. And she's like, why are you here? And he kind of gestures you said that you wanted to be with me, that you had that wish. And she's like, no,
but not like that.
Yeah, I was saying that I wanted to die. My life sucks. I hate it. I wanted to be in the ground with you.
Fair enough. So what are we going to do about it now?
Yeah, so she's like, this is the most I've talked in forever. No one ever listens to me, and you just are just sitting here listening. You don't talk.
And he starts crying, and we learn that his tears fucking stink. He's crying because she basically turned him down.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh God, please just stop crying. Just anything to get rid of that. It's so bad." She's like, "How about let's get you in the shower and wash you up a little bit." So, being like modest or whatever, she just kind of puts him in there and is like, "Okay, here's hot, here's cold." Closes the curtain. You can figure it out from there.
Right, and we get a big gush of just the mud pouring off this guy as well as worms.
Yeah,
because zombie.
Yeah. So when he comes out, he's still in his clothes, but like not caked in like several inches of mud. So
they've taken off some of the zombie makeup. Mm-hmm. Just a little bit.
Yeah. So he's looking a little better. He's still very zombie-like. She's like, well, let's get you out of these wet clothes then. So she like puts him into her closet and closes the door, which is where we'll see that she's got the Voyage to the Moon kind of like on the door. And then we get like a just good old classic 80s clothes try-on montage. Yeah, it's so good. Yeah. And it's really great because it's her clothes, so a lot of it is very feminine. And they just
she has a lot of dude clothes too, though.
Yeah, but like they're not afraid to just like he comes out in like a frilly bathrobe at one point, and she's like, actually, I kind of dig that, and he's like, no, but like they're just kind of playing with like gender stuff in it, and not being like a weird thing at all. But yeah, eventually she does find him something that's a little more masculine, that he seems comfortable because it kind of seems a little old timey too, like it's. Right. It's like
isn't he dressed up like Robert Downey Jr. from 16 Candles?
Kind of, yeah. Because it's like a Violent Femmes t-shirt, but it's got like a tweed blazer over it, so it's a little bit like a little goth, but like it's like the cool professor or something, Yeah.
The one that I wanted to be as a kid, with the tweed patch or the patches on the
elbows
jacket.
Yeah. But yeah, they agree this is a good look. But then she hears, that her family's gotten home, so she's like, hide, get in the closet. She goes downstairs, and obviously,
Janet's pissed.
Yeah, because this zombie thing broke into the house and, got mud on a lot of stuff.
But she doesn't think it's a zombie. Obviously, she doesn't think it's a zombie. She's like, what were you doing? She blames everything on Lisa.
Yeah, you smashed the mirror, and now you've done this. You've just got a taste for vandalism. This is, bad rebellious behavior.
I should put you in a psych ward.
Yeah.
She's already made that threat one time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because she's going.
Yeah, because you're just lying for attention. And we find out that...
Even though your mom died.
Yeah, and we find out Janet actually is a nurse in a psych ward, so she should have, respect for that whole... But she says something about, the loony bin or the nut house or something, we're going to... put you in there, and Taffy's even like, Mom, you work with these people.
Be respectful.
Yeah. But Janet just has no respect for Lisa at all.
Also, though, let's be honest, she describes the break-in basically as done by the Hamburglar, and they call her on it.
I forgot about that. Yeah, she's like, somebody else broke in. He was wearing a
wide brim hat.
Yeah, and a striped black and white shirt, and they're like, that's
with a red tie.
Yeah, that sounds like you're describing the Hamburglar. Are you just hungry? What's
right?
But yeah, eventually, so Lisa, obviously being told that she's crazy and might be institutionalized, is upset. She runs upstairs and slams the door, goes to her room as a teenager is wont to do often. And she just throws herself on the bed and falls, cries herself to sleep. And we don't our boy monster character just kind of is hidden in the closet. We don't see him till the next morning.
Yeah, he chills there the entire night.
But when Lisa gets up though, she opens the closet and he's holding an outfit out to her immediately, and she's like, no, I'm gonna pick something.
It's the gothiest fucking goth outfit ever.
Yeah, it's black lace, long sleeves, big frilly, caps on the end of the sleeves and everything. And she's like, no,
hat.
Yeah, I'm not wearing that. And he's like, yes, you are, And she's like, well, can I at least get a jacket or something? This is, and so he hands her a jacket as well, and basically closes the door on her. This is what you are wearing to school. You have to. Right. And she's like, okay, fine. So she goes to school, and it's very goth. It kind of reminds me also of like some of the looks that Madonna had in the 80s, where she would wear like the kind of lacy black stuff. Is it
Very
the Like a Virgin video that she's in?
Yes.
So it is kind of goth, but like her classmates are kind of like digging it. Like she's getting like, looks and nods where people are like,
this is also the moment where we learn the attractive woman is attractive,
yeah,
She does the strut. Yeah.
Yeah, another classic 80s trope.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, back at the house, Janet is home alone. She's doing a little bit of cleaning and wearing a Walkman.
Should we mention also, if you don't like bugs, or more specifically worms, might you want to skip over parts of this?
Yeah. So she's kind of just doing like the 80s housewife kind of thing. She's wearing like, spandex in the house for no reason, listening to music. And she's not listening to music though, right? It's like some sort of like self-affirmation.
No, it's motivational fucking speakers. It's the scam artists from the 80s.
Yeah. But so
positive thinking.
Exactly. But the creature is like kind of wandering around the house while Janet is there, but she doesn't hear him because she's got the Walkman headphones on.
Yep.
And he even sits down. The family has a piano. He sits down at the piano and plays a few notes. And Janet like thinks she hears something and takes off one earphone. He stops.
Stops.
Yeah. So she's like, okay, I must have been hearing things. But then she hears the doorbell, and she definitely heard that. So she goes to answer the door.
And somehow he walks right past her. Whoever was in the door doesn't notice. Some random dude maybe thinks this is her son or her husband.
Yeah.
And our boy hacks up a nice little treat into her bowl of Weetabix or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, it looked like fruit on top of either cereal or cottage cheese or something.
Or what the hell is those things called? They're not Triscuits. Shredded wheat. That's it.
Yeah,
Looks like fruit on shredded wheat.
Yeah, it could definitely be that. But yeah, like he like coughs a worm into her food while she is like yelling at a door-to-door salesman behind him.
Yep.
And then he just like goes back up to Lisa's room to hide out. And of course, Janet starts eating, finds the worm, and is very upset.
Gets sick. Yeah. Well, we come back to school, and Michael Trent is basically asking Lisa for her notes from the class they were just in.
Yeah, and they're very flirty about it. Like he's like, I just didn't get any notes, and then he looks at hers and he's like, oh wow, you're like a pro. This is like really good stuff.
Right, but Taffy's not having that shit. She's like, I know what you're about. Go on. Leave my sister alone.
And like this again like kind of speaks to like this could be a scene where Taffy's just like, you're gross, go away. But she's like, my sister is too good for you. Like. She's not just like, I think my sister has bad taste and I'm going to end this relationship because I don't want him around. It's like, I care about my sister and I want good things for her, and I don't think this guy is good enough.
Well, yeah, I mean, she even says, why don't you go for better dudes? Just, you can do better.
And Michael says something like, Oscar Wilde said that to categorize something is to minimize it or something like that. And Taffy's like, well, Oscar the Grouch said scram.
Right? Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. So then we just cut to like later, Lisa has arrived home and she thanks the creature for her clothes suggestion. Like it went over well, and she's like happy that, she was feeling good about herself after that. And she's like, what can I do to repay you? And he holds out.
Well, he points to his ear, right?
Mm-hmm. He's missing an ear. And he also, one of his hands is gone. Like he's just got, like loose clothes, and he kind of like gestures to both of those. And she's like,
I believe she, you want new parts? No, you're a man, not a Chrysler LeBaron. Which, that was my first car, so I don't want to hear it from you, ma'am. Shittiest ass car in the world, though. I could literally take the keys out of the ignition while driving, throw them to my friends, and watch them freak the fuck out. It was kind of amazing.
But yeah, she's like, I'm not a surgeon. I can't really help you with that. Maybe we'll think of something else, though. But then Janet starts like pounding on the door. So creature goes and hides back in the closet. Janet bursts in and is like, I know you sabotaged my snack or my lunch or whatever.
Well, she was gonna. She can't go to her conference now because she's sick because of the worm got made. I don't know. Something worm guts. Yeah.
Yeah, she like describes it in detail or whatever, but she's like, yeah, I'm ill now. I was supposed to go to this medical conference and I'm going to miss out on it, and it's all your fault. She calls Lisa.
I'm an angel. Yeah. She said. Yeah. How exactly? She says she's an whore and ungrateful bitch, but Janet is an angel who takes care of people.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure does.
Just the worst.
Narcissism.
And again, she's like, this is the last straw. I am sending you to a facility, and it is going to be inpatient, and you are going to be locked up.
I don't care if your mother was butchered like a pig.
Yeah, just the
Lovely.
worst. Yeah. But our creature is in the closet and hearing this, and he doesn't like the way Janet's talking to Lisa, so he pops out.
Well, she slaps Lisa.
Yes, yeah. And what did he have? Like
it's like an urn. It's like an old school garbage can that's almost like an urn. I don't know. It's one of those two, like a wastebasket.
Okay.
It's metal. That's the only thing I could tell you was solid metal.
Yeah, and
because once he brains her, you hear ding.
Yep, she falls down and is like just dead, like right away. I thought she was like just knocked out.
You can tell because of all the blood.
Yeah, lots of blood pooling around her. And so the creature bends down and like cuts off one of Janet's ears and holds it out to Lisa. Like, now we got an ear. You can put it on me. It'll be perfect.
Yeah.
And
I like how it has a diamond stud.
Yeah.
That's perfectly 80s too.
Yeah. And Lisa's like, well, I can't help you until we bury the body. Let's do that first. And then we'll see.
Yeah. I won't be able to help you until we bury the body. Dun, dun, dun. Now Lisa's evil too, right?
Yeah.
To a degree.
So the next thing is we see them dragging Janet into the cemetery. And like, of course, his grave is already open from him having like torn his way out of it. And they're like looking down at it, and Lisa's like, is it peaceful down there?
Peaceful in there?
And he just like
shakes his head.
No. Which like that's some dark shit. Like
Perfect.
Yeah, so good.
Dump the body.
Yeah. So
hi, Janet.
Yep, they throw the body in there, and then I think we just cut to back at home. The ear's already attached. Lisa's, sewn it on, and she's like talking into it, and is like, "Can you hear me?" And he's
nothing.
Yeah, and she's like, "Well, maybe it's just for looks. At least it looks good. My aunt got a boob job, and she can't feel anything down there anymore. But at least she got a husband."
Yeah,
which is just such an 80s thing.
Yeah, exactly. But Lisa comes up with an idea. She's like, wait a second. Lighting brought you into this world. Maybe you can animate the other parts of you, too.
Because he draws like a little lightning bolt on her hand or something, and she's like, oh, I have an idea. So she takes him to the tanning bed because, as you know...
See, we told you it would be important.
Yeah, and when he lays down in it and she like closes the lid, like you realize that it looks very coffin-like, so it's perfect thematically for this. But yep, she electrocutes him, and when she opens the tanning bed, not only can he now hear out of the ear, but he just like looks a little better. Like he's still kind of zombie-ish, but less makeup. The electricity did more than just fix the ear. It's like it's juicing him up in some way.
And basically okay, let's not get ahead of it, but basically every time he goes into the tanning bed, he becomes more and more human.
Yes, exactly.
So less zombie.
Yeah. It's glass half full, glass half empty. So then
yes, she screams into his ear.
And he can definitely hear. Yeah.
She makes the most god-awful noise. Like, the entire audience just cracked up when she started screaming.
Yeah, it was really good.
Like, I can't make that sound. I can't go that pitch.
Yeah. And so then we cut to the next morning. Lisa comes down to get ready for school, and
she's gone full 80s.
Yeah, she's looking good. You can tell she's just like confident. She's feeling good about herself.
The side ponytail.
And like, Taffy and Lisa's dad are downstairs, and they kind of are talking a little bit. They of course think that Janet did go to that medical conference.
Why wouldn't they? You know?
Yeah, they don't know about the worm and all that. So, you know, I think then we cut to just Lisa at school.
Let's note something else though, real quick, because Taffy's like, "Hey, wait a second, isn't that like a dress I wore one time when I was a kid? Only one time." Like, you start getting this thing where Taffy is now becoming jealous of Lisa because Lisa's now confident and she's embracing her true self.
Yeah, because Lisa says something like, "I thought you said sisters share." So there's definitely implication that Taffy has borrowed things from Lisa for a long time, and Lisa's never reciprocated, and now Lisa wants to borrow things, and Taffy's not liking it so much.
And the dad makes a weird joke. He's like, "Is that Sherry or is that Lisa?" I don't... What was that a reference to?
Well, so Lisa has like a bottle she's drinking from, and he says, "Is that Sherry?" And like I think like, are you drinking wine? And she's like, "No, it's Lisa." And he's like,
"Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that was the joke."
Yeah, so that's how confident she is. She's just drinking booze in the morning in front of her dad and doesn't give a fuck.
And they even say, "Wait, you made a joke?"
Yeah.
Over ignoring the teenage alcoholism.
Right. So then we just see her at school, and again, she's just kind of like strutting through the hallways, feeling good. We see her write a note with like a pink pen, and it's all bubbly, and it's like, you can't quite see what it says, but there's like a yes or no.
At this moment, don't we also see that Taffy has a bruise on her neck?
Oh,
like
yes.
Handprint?
Yes, I think it maybe it's supposed to be a hickey. I'm not, but like Lisa asks her what it is, and she's like, "Oh, it's a curling iron burn." And Lisa's like, "But your hair's straight right now," and she's like, "No, it's from yesterday." And she was like, "You had cheerleading practice yesterday. You weren't using the crimper yesterday either." And she's like,
"My hair doesn't hold a crimp. It's just so healthy and natural."
Yeah.
Okay, we know.
Yeah. But then, so she gets to school and you know, is feeling good. And so she writes this note, and it's like, you just see like in pink bubbly letters, like the yes or no kind of thing. I don't know if people do that anymore, but that was the thing.
We're assuming that's for Michael. Mm-hmm. We'll find out who it's really for later.
Yeah, she folds it up, sticks it in a locker, and then goes to class. And then I think we just
where she does the white out nail polish thing.
Yes.
I don't know why, but a bunch of the girls in my school, and this was well after the 80s. This was definitely in the mid-90s. Mm-hmm. Not trying to date myself, but they, even up to that point, they were still doing it.
Yeah. But yeah, once she gets out of class after doing that, she goes and checks her locker. The note has been returned. Got a
yes.
Yep, the yes is circled, so she's like feeling good. And I think we just see her at the park. And we see that she's not meeting Michael. She's meeting Doug, the date rapey, the not so great guy. So that's strange.
Yeah. She's like, "Hey, come with me."
Yeah, let's go for a walk.
Yeah, sure. Can I hold your hand? And she's like, "Yeah, later. Later, I'll hold your hand."
Yeah. So she takes him to the cemetery, and he's like, "Oh, I don't like this place." And he says, "You know, it's not Christian for a graveyard to be unattended like this."
Right. She just ominously looks at him. "It's not Christian."
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I mean, listen, my male genitalia has led me down some silly paths in the past. I'm going to say that at this point, I'm like, you know, I'm good. I'm out. Peace.
Yeah. But nope, he's like, he didn't get his chance with her at the party that he thinks he earned or whatever, so he's of course going to follow her in.
Right, he knew she liked it.
Yeah. And she's kind of, she's like acting like, like let's do this. But then,
touch me like you did at the party.
Yeah.
Yet another trap.
Mm-hmm.
This man just jumps into.
Yeah, and the creature jumps out of the grave right behind him and goes to attack Doug while Lisa, I think, kicks him in the balls at the same time. And he falls down, and I really appreciate that the creature has a hatchet, and he chops off Doug's hand while Doug's still alive. And then kills Doug. They're going to make him suffer a little bit. Yeah, he deserves it.
He earned it?
Yeah, absolutely. So now they've got a new hand. And we just, I think
they easily dispose of Doug.
Yeah, they just roll him right into the grave. And then we just see at home, Lisa sewing the hand on, and then they get him in the tanning bed again. He comes out again looking even
more human.
Yeah, much better now. They, they're really happy. They like dance and twirl around in the yard.
Dance.
It's real sweet. And then they go in.
Centipede falls out of his pants.
Yeah. So he's still a zombie, but just a much better zombie.
Less zombie.
Yeah. They go inside, and he sits down in front of the piano, and he starts playing like classical music, and she seems really impressed.
Well, I mean, she even says, "Wait, you had an entire life before you died."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's kind of shocked by that,
realizing that he was a person before he died.
Yeah, before he was the gravestone that she liked to talk to.
Exactly.
And because she asked, like, was that sounded like Mozart or something? And he's like, no. He points to him like, I wrote this. This is mine. And then he like points to her, and she's like,
wants her to sing.
Yeah, and she's like, well, you can drive it. Like, so there's like a book of like sheet music on the piano, and he just starts playing what's there. And it is...
Which is REO Speedwagons.
I can't fight this feeling anymore.
Fucking amazing. Like, honestly, this is one of my top 10 scenes of all time right now.
Yeah, it's so good. And yeah, of course, she sings along, and it's really sweet. Like, it's just a really, really beautiful scene between the two of them. They're just, like, they're connecting, playing music together. It's just really touching.
It's so sweet. It brings another tear to his eye. She doesn't even have to turn to see it. She's like, oh my God, are you crying again?
Yeah. She says, it smells like a hot toilet at a carnival.
Bruh.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Such a visceral, like, yeah, exactly. Like, you hear that and you're like, oh, yep, I know just what you mean. And I think he like touches his hand then, like, is this like, how do you feel about what we've done? And she's like, I don't feel guilty. Like, they were bad people. They were, Janet was going to hurt me. He tried to hurt me. He was going to
saved me.
Yeah, he was going to do terrible things with that hand. So, like, both of the things we've done, I feel like, are justified. You're going to do better things with that hand than he ever was going to.
Right. Well, I mean, she's not wrong, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, this guy was eventually going to become a youth pastor, and, well, we know where that goes. So, I mean...
Yeah.
Sorry. You can cut that if you want.
No, you're not wrong.
A little too much.
Yeah. But yeah, she's like, okay, yeah, it's about time for bed. Let's head upstairs. And plus, I need to change my pad, which, like, he kind of made a face like he didn't know what that was or something. That was a very, like, this is written by Diablo Cody joke. Like, it was just...
Right.
It was fine, like, it's a teen girl.
She's firing on all cylinders, by the way, on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love Jennifer's body, and I think I like this one better.
Yeah, I think so. It's more cohesive. Like, there's a vision to it. And it could be, I don't remember, I know Diablo Cody wrote it, but I don't remember who directed Jennifer's Body. But this one's actually surprisingly directed by a first-time director, too. So it's even more impressive that, like...
Williams.
Yeah, Zelda Williams, Robin Williams' daughter. Let's see.
Which, fuck yeah, man.
Yeah. Oh, Karen Kusama directed.
Karen Kusama.
Yeah, so she's done a lot of stuff. She did The Invitation and done a bunch of Yellow Jackets, and she's done.
She's living in that horror realm, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, I already want to see more from Zelda Williams if this is her movies, or these are her movies.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, coming out of the gate like this, definitely. And of course, you come from like a Hollywood family. I'm sure she's got been doing stuff in the background that we've not seen all these years. I'm sure this is not her first like touch of like any kind of movie production stuff. But yeah, it definitely makes me interested to see where she goes from here. But yeah, so they head upstairs, and then like Taffy gets home later and is all excited. She just got out of cheerleading practice.
Right, I've successfully perfected my back tuck. I've got to go call Mom now and let her know.
Yeah, and of course Lisa's like, she's in the you don't want to bother her at the conference. You just wait till she comes home. And Taffy's like, no, she promised me if I got the back tuck that she would give me her diamond stud earrings, and I want to tell her. I'm really excited.
Which one is now in the creature's ear, right?
Exactly, yeah. And, Lisa keeps trying to deter her and realizes she's not going to be able to, so she's like, well, I'm going to go upstairs. I need to study for a pop quiz. And her dad's like, a pop quiz? How do you know there's a pop quiz tomorrow? That's
right. Aren't those surprises?
Yeah. And she's like, yeah, the teachers aren't allowed to surprise us anymore.
It's illegal.
Yeah, it's illegal. There was a kid who got so surprised he had a heart attack and died. So now they have to tell us before they have pop quizzes.
Yeah, I wish. But he also notices, hey, there's something up with your hands. Do you have whiteout on your fingernails? She has crusted blood under the whiteout, but he doesn't notice that.
Yeah. And she's like, yeah, whiteout. It's all the kids are doing it. It's the cool thing. And he's like, oh, you can't, yeah, it's whatever. Like, teenagers are going to teenage, so sure, fine. And then, of course, she goes upstairs, and the creature is sitting in the closet, and he's just been like, while he's waiting around, he's been in this closet a lot, so he's just wondering what all this stuff is that's like future things to him. So he holds up a recorder, like the flute thing, not a tape recorder. And she's like, oh, yeah.
Well, she's like, yeah, I stopped doing that in, 6th grade because I had a lip fungus.
Mm-hmm. And he just kind of...
Nope.
Which is funny for him to be like, ooh, gross, when he's got like bugs coming out of his body.
He's full of fungus.
Yeah. Then he picks up her Hitachi magic wand vibrator, and she's like, oh, that's a back massager? Which is technically true. That's what the box says when you buy a Hitachi magic wand. And he's like, oh, okay, or just kind of nods. And then
Taffy busts in.
Yeah, Taffy bursts in. He's able to like close the doors and hide. And Taffy's like, I called the hotel. Mom's not there. They didn't have her register. They didn't even know the name. I called all the.
I'm an IP like mom, which means intuitive person.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
so
I know something's wrong.
I called every Marriott in the city. She's not at any of them. Then I called all of the hotels in the city. Nobody's heard from her. Something's wrong. And Lisa's trying to calm her down. She's like, don't worry. There's got to be a logical explanation.
While she's doing this, she does the fucking Freddy Krueger pose, like where he's taking his hand. She puts her hand on Taffy's, and then takes her hand and rears back, like she's gonna stab her with the hand knives.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, that's fucking. I know where that's from.
Yeah, that is another nice little nod. We also didn't mention, but the house that they live in is a very like dollhouse style house that kind of like, it's not exact because I did like pull them both up and look, but it's pretty similar to the Nightmare on Elm Street house. And Taffy's car is also very similar to Laurie Strode's car from Halloween. So yeah, there's just little touches here and there. That's nice. But yeah, as Lisa's trying to calm her down, she's like, don't jump to any conclusions. We'll figure out what's going on. And Taffy, this is one of the bitchier things Taffy says in the movie. She's like, that's easy for you to say. You don't have to worry because your mom's already dead. You don't care.
Yeah.
And it's like, she should know more than most that it sucks to lose your mom. Like, she, is going to be more empathetic about this. Of course, I guess...
By the way, Taffy barely misses the blood, the pool of blood that they've only hidden with a carpet.
Yeah, she's stepping around, and it's kind of sticking out of the edge of the carpet a little bit. So eventually, after that, I think Taffy leaves, and then we just have Lisa sitting up in bed, and the creature comes up behind her with the vibrator and starts using it as a back massager. Yeah, and she's enjoying it. It feels good, and she's like, my aunt gave this to me for Christmas because she said it would improve my personality.
Right.
And then she asks him, like, do you want me to do it to you? Can you even feel anything in your body? Like, what, how are you experiencing the world? And she's like, oh, the closet, that's probably pretty cramped. You shouldn't be shut up in that closet. You can share the bed with me. And so he lays down next to her, and then we cut to the dad and Taffy are on the phone with the police.
Right. Taffy's giving exacting descriptions of her mother. The dad can't fucking even recall her face, I think, at this point.
Yeah, like they ask her hair color, and the dad's like, I don't know, it's like dark, it's like a brownish brunette? Or something. Yeah. And yeah, Taffy's like, no, it's like, I can't remember. It's like it's the exact
it's red with blonde highlights, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like she says something about like it's just like a golden retriever that's just been, in the sun.
Out in the sun.
Yeah, just very poetically describing how beautiful she sees her mom, which is very sweet.
Right. My mom has hazel eyes, but she wears green contacts to make them brighter or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, she's going bit by bit by bit, and Dad's like, yeah, she has brown hair.
Yeah. And then like this
is when.
Yeah, we get this bit like cut back and forth where like we'll get a little of them talking to the police, then we'll go back upstairs. And the creature's using the back massager again, and then Lisa's like, sometimes people use it in other places.
Right.
Which then we cut back down.
Okay, this is one of the most underrated bits though, because while the dad and they're still talking to the cops, you hear Lisa basically go off.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, oh.
Yeah, like huh. The light flickers, and I think she says like, "Oh my god,"
right. Good for her.
Yeah, and so we don't see that.
I should be saying that she's underage. Never mind.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess he's sort of underage too.
It could be. Could be.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like the anime. They're 1,000 years old, but they look like they're 12, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when we cut back upstairs, they're, everything's done. They're just kind of having pillow talk, laying there together. And she's talking about how much she misses her mom still. And she's like, people kind of just expect me to be over it now. They always say time heals all wounds, but it doesn't.
This is a real grief thing.
Yeah, she says time is the wound. As time goes on, it grows and it just further separates you from the people that you love. Which is a really poetic way to think of it. Like I've never really heard anyone like say it that way. And it's true. Like, I've always heard that like the pain doesn't get easier. You just get used to it. And I think this is part of the process as well. Is like she's feeling like, if you're having trouble remembering what your mom looked like or the things she did that you liked, that's a different level of pain. Like it's, you may not be like.
You're also running into little things that remind you of those people, every once in a while, and it kind of like rips open the wound one more time. Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard. Like, it's going to be difficult for her whole life in different ways. Especially losing somebody unexpectedly and in such a. I mean, it's never easy. It's a
horrible way though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a horrible way. And when she's like young is extra bad. But like you lose a pet that you've had 20 years, and it's like they had a long life, and they're a pet. They're not my mom, right. And it's still devastating. And everybody has experienced this in some way, and it's people never get used to it. It's a part of life, and and in fact, I think she says something about
this is probably one of the few like universal experiences.
Absolutely, yeah. She says something along those lines that like I think people are so scared.
Afraid of death.
Yeah, everyone's scared of death because they don't know what comes next, or they just see.
I'm not afraid.
Yeah, I'm not afraid anymore. She says the only thing I don't want to die a virgin.
Right. She has her priorities straight, right? The one thing she wants to get laid before she dies.
And she's like, "Did you?" And he holds up one, like I had sex one time. And she's like, "Oh, well, that's good. At least she got that." I think
to be fair, I mean, he's still better than like 50% of his whole generation. Like half of them probably didn't even do that.
True. Yeah. She says something like, asks if he loved her or something, and he kind of nods, and she's like, "Yeah, I want my first time to be with somebody really special too, someone like Michael."
Michael Trent.
Yeah, and
after it's like that's insulting, ma'am.
Yeah, and you can tell like his face, just like when she's beginning this conversation, he's like, "Yeah, we're connecting, we're on the same page," and then she says someone like Michael, and he just looks sad.
He's like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
Well, and it's so bizarre because it's like she basically used him like he was the extension of her wand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Nothing more.
Yeah, definitely. And like she just completely doesn't notice that he looks heartbroken about this, and she's like, you're so supportive. I love our conversations.
Right, like he's the gay best friend, but then he's not. He's not that.
Yeah.
I have feelings, man.
Yeah, and it almost like I was thinking about like the manic pixie dream girl trope about like they like bring vibrancy and life to this like sad boy or whatever, and he's kind of like the opposite in a way because he's not a vibrant, lively character, but he still is bringing that vibrancy into her life, as if she were that like sad sack like Zach Braff character who needs something,
right?
Right.
Well, no, actually, if you think about it, her as the manic pixie dream girl, she's doing exactly that, but it's in a reverse process, right?
Yeah. That's kind of true too. Yeah, it's interesting because this does play with a lot of tropes, but they're all kind of twisted or subverted. They're not exactly the way that they, like we had her do like the she's all that hot girl moment, but she's still dressed like a goth. She's just a more confident goth, it's not like she took off her glasses and dressed like a cheerleader kind of thing. It's just, and like Taffy being the cheerleader who's not a mean girl for the most part, but everybody's breaking out of the tropes a little bit in a way that I appreciate. Like a lot of times when you have
except for Dad.
Yeah.
Dad's leaning into that shit real hard.
That is true. Yeah, he definitely is. And a lot of times when people make movies now that are 80s period pieces, the whole thing is we want to just do the tropes because they're easier. Yeah. And that's not what we're doing here. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it's kind of cool. I appreciate
do the John Hughes movie because that worked the first time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And so I think then it's like the next morning, Lisa walks out to get in the car. Taffy's already sitting in the driver's seat, just bawling her eyes out.
As she walks out, she's like, wait a second, wasn't that my Halloween costume that I wore like back in middle school or something like that?
Yeah, and Lisa's like, well, yeah, I didn't think you'd miss it,
Right, you haven't worn it forever.
Right,
You're not jealous, right?
Yeah. But, Taffy's obviously really heartbroken about like her missing mom still, and she's just crying, and finally Lisa's like, how about I drive? And Taffy's like, okay.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because like the way that people treated her, she's kind of treating Taffy that way. Mm-hmm. She's like, all right, you do your thing, but it's making me uncomfortable, so I just want to get on with it.
Yeah, she's slightly sympathetic, but mostly she's just like, I want to get on with my day. And so when they get to school, Taffy comes in and all of her like girlfriends are right there ready to comfort her, but they're like, something else happened.
Cops.
Yeah, it turns out that a kid died, and a
kid named Doug.
Yeah, and the popular girls are like, I don't think I ever met him. He may have been like a grade under us or something. I don't know, but like, yeah, apparently something happened. And of course, this is very triggering to Taffy, who's already feeling, mournful about her mom. So she's like, I've got to go home. I can't do this.
Right. I'm going to go ahead and cut today. Do any of you, my friends, mind taking my sister home? And they're all like, yeah, no.
Yeah, they're all looking at her like, we don't want that in our car. No. And Lisa's just like, it's fine. I'll walk home. You go. Yeah. And I think then it's like pretty much in class, as soon as Lisa sits down on the intercom, she's called to the principal's office. She gets up and like...
But she has some fucking attitude because... there's a dude who like calls her a whore.
Yeah, it was like there's a girl that says like, "Oh, I bet it's a dress code violation." Oh, yeah. And then the guy's like, "Yeah, slut penalty."
Right, and then she just like to kind of be like, "All right, fuck you, buddy." She takes her gum out, slaps it on his notebook.
Yeah, like squishes it down in his book. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Yeah. And so then in the principal's office, the police have some questions for Lisa. They're sitting there, or she's sitting there next to. Tamara,
the snitch.
Yeah. And they're like, this Doug, did you know him? And she's like, no, I mean, he was my lab partner, but I didn't really know him outside of that. And they're like, well, she said she saw you put a note in his locker yesterday and that you all had plans to meet up after school.
Yeah, he stood me up.
I did. I went to the park. He never showed up. And then like, well, we have some witnesses who say they saw someone matching his description walking with someone matching your description. So it sounds like he didn't stand you up. And Lisa just kind of like at that point just gets up and she's like, I'm not doing any this. I'm done with this. Call my lawyer.
Tamara also says you probably killed your own mother too. And that Lisa's like, oh, fuck you.
Yeah, that's what sets her off. Yeah. And so, yeah, she's like, you can reach out to my lawyer. I'm out of here. So she leaves. Then we cut to the creature who is in the house. And there's like, the dad calls and leaves a message on the answering machine. It says something about that, like someone said they saw Janet's car nearby.
Right. Just parked on the edge. So we're going to check that out, right? Mm-hmm. The cops are going to check that out.
Yeah,
and I love how he's like, the creature's like, oh, I better cover up my crime.
Yep. So he runs across the neighborhood, gets to the car, and starts trying to break into it. And then we
also get introduced to a wonderful character who's awful and calls his grandson a slur for a homosexual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we should say that, but
yeah, and
because his grandson can't pull the chain on the mower. Good enough to start the engine.
And he's like really, he's goes over to the creature, trying to get in the car, and he's like asking a bunch of questions, and obviously the creature can't talk.
He's also threatening him. Mm-hmm. He's like, "Oh yeah, what are you doing around this car? I don't want you in my neighborhood. Get out."
Yeah, yeah, and the creature ends up just kind of like knocking him over and getting in the car and driving off.
Well, we just see the body, him driving off, and then his grandson waving at the creature happily.
Yeah.
It's like, thanks for killing Grandpa.
Yeah.
He was a dick.
Yeah. So he heads out to go pick up Lisa. And Lisa, has just stormed out of school, so they meet up perfectly. She hops in the car, and she's like, all right, can you take me to Michael's house? I want to have sex. And, obviously he doesn't want to do that because he has feelings for her. She's like, I got in all this trouble at school today and this is all your fault. You killed Janet. Yeah.
We didn't set this up together. You did it.
Yeah, you killed Janet and then, you made me want to kill Doug because you made it look so much fun.
Right. Uh-huh.
And she's like, just take me to Michael's.
That's how culpability works.
Right, yeah. So he starts driving.
You're probably lame. You probably rode one of those stupid bikes with the big front wheel, the brain farthing.
Yeah.
And he looks away and she's like, you did!
Yeah. And she's like, you act like you're happy for me, but you're not. And we're going to talk about this afterwards. But first, I'm going to go in there. So she goes into Michael's house and just goes in, doesn't knock on the door.
Right.
Just lets herself in.
Runs up the stairs.
Opens his bedroom door, which is weird that she knew which one was his bedroom. But there's Michael laying in bed.
He's not alone.
Taffy's there.
Oh, no. And then that's when basically Lisa puts it all together with the hickey or whatever we
Yeah.
And she's been a little cagey, and that's why she also ran him off, was because him and her had already been doing things.
Yep. Yeah. So obviously, Lisa's pretty betrayed, feels pretty betrayed by that, is upset with Taffy, but more than that, she's mad at Michael, which is this is a good, like, she's like, you're acting like you're so cool all the time, you like all this cool weird stuff, but you don't want to be with the girls who like the cool things. You want to hold it over them. You want to be smarter than the girls. You don't want a girl who's like your equal. So you're taking advantage of Taffy, who's a little simpler.
Right. She even says that. And he tries to justify it, and he goes, listen, kiddo, but immediately we get an interruption here. I don't know, maybe this is the best scene, because the creature just busts in, hatchet in hand, walks over to Michael, rips the cover off of him, and you just see the axe go down, and then silhouette of dick go flying in the air. And land in the wastebasket.
Yeah, and it's like you get splatter of blood on a couple of the characters' faces, and this scene is
And they play fucking Total Eclipse of the Heart are here, right?
Or it's On the Wings of Love.
On the Wings of Love. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And so it's really great when you see the silhouette of a dick flying through the air on the wings of love.
Dick and balls.
Yes. Yeah.
That was a good shot if he got it all in one swipe.
Right. Yeah. And then he just goes over and picks up the wastebasket and runs out of the room.
No, he goes to kill Taffy. Like, he swings at her and she blocks with a pillow.
Right, yeah. Lisa's like, no, you're not going to hurt her. She's my sister. She may have hurt my feelings, but, like, she's still my sister.
Right. So and he picks up the wastebasket with the dick in it, and they go walking off.
Yeah, he runs out, and then Lisa and Taffy follow after him. He gets in, Janet's car and drives away. Lisa and Taffy get into Taffy's car and follow him.
Taffy is catatonic.
Yeah, she's got blood splattered on her face. She's like huddled in the corner, like as far away from Lisa as she can get.
Right. Every time Lisa tries to reach for her, she shrinks away.
Mm-hmm. And this scene I really liked. Like, Lisa's like, you could have been awful to me. Like, late in your life, me and my dad moved into your house. I know I'm different. I had to, go to your school and you be around all these people and everything. This life that you have established, I've just been like shoehorned into it. And you've been incredibly kind to me. You've not been afraid of claiming me as your sister in front of your friends. I really appreciate that. Like, you've been really, really good to me, and you're my sister.
She gives Taffy her mother's rosary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so they end up getting to the cemetery, and Lisa's like, "You stay here. I'll take care of this." So
She grabs the axe that he used on Michael's dong, and then Taffy walks away, and I was fucking terrified for Taffy at this moment because she's doing like the catatonic shuffle.
Yeah,
you see in a lot of horror movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and she walks out to the road, and I'm like, oh no, she's gonna get hit here. But an old man pulls up, takes one look at her, and just drives the fuck off.
Yeah,
he's like, I'm not getting involved.
Yeah, big nope on that one. And so Lisa's headed towards the cemetery, and mostly the music in this is all like classic radio pop 80s. This scene is the Pixies' Wave of Mutilation, which came out in 1989, so it's technically an 80s song, but it seemed like a slightly weird choice for the vibe of this movie.
Right.
But mutilation, like it fits thematically, I guess. But yeah, so Lisa walks into the cemetery, and the creature is there, and she comes up behind him, and she's got the hatchet, and like she's gonna
take him down.
Yeah, but then she just kind of like breaks down. Like, she's just like, I think everything kind of connects, and she's like, wait, you love me. Like, that's why all this has happened. Like, you've been protecting me. You care about me. And so she just like drops the hatchet. And they hug.
She runs into his arms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she says, make love to me. And he shakes his head no. And she's like, wait, why not?
Why?
And he kind of like gestures.
Yeah, she grabs his crotch, and she's like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Where are we going to find a replacement?
Well, and at first I was kind of surprised because she was like, it's okay. Like, you don't need that to be true. A man. And she's like, in fact, there's many things we can do without that. Penetrative sex is not the only thing. There's plenty of stuff we can do. Which seems very forward-thinking, especially for that time.
No doubt.
But
he's got a backup.
Yeah, he points at the wastebasket, and she's like, oh, you got that for me? That's a gift for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's not wrong.
And then suddenly, out of nowhere, this police officer lady just pops up in the cemetery with her gun out and is like, you all are under arrest. You shouldn't be here.
Right. Scoops her up, walks over to the hole, drops her.
Yeah, just chucks her in the grave like it's nothing, and they head back. Or I think then we just cut right to them at home, and we get a scene it's pretty funny because it's like she's sewing the dick back on, but the angle of the shot looks like she's like blowing him or something, because it's just like, him standing there and just like her head blocking his crotch. I think then we, of course, they go to the tanning bed again. Once they zap him this time, he comes out and basically looks alive. Like, he just looks fine.
no zombie makeup is on at this point.
Mm-hmm. And then we cut to them in bed together, and we get a very, tasteful sort of like 80s teen comedy type sex scene. It's sweet. It's a little awkward, kind of comedic. That we don't get like any graphic nudity or thrusting or anything. And
we get more RE Speedwagon.
Mm-hmm, yeah, can't fight. But like this time, it's like the actual one and not her singing it on the piano.
And he puts a little gummy ring on her finger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like there was a point earlier where somebody had one of those and was wearing it like a ring. But yeah, he slips it on her finger right as they're getting ready to have sex, and then we cut to another animated sequence, but now it's little animated versions of the two of them, and they're riding
on a rocket.
Yeah, it's very like a phallic rocket flying. It crashes into the moon's eye. That's sort of the metaphor for sex here that we get. Then we cut back to them in bed, and we hear police sirens in the distance.
Yep. So there's only one way that this movie can end. Lisa basically is like, I gotta die.
Mm-hmm.
To basically hide our crimes and save us.
Yeah. So they run down to the garage, and she gets into the tanning bed and says, make sure you set it to max bronze.
Yep. He sure does.
Yep. Which, at first we get like the electrocution sounds coming from the bed. Then it just starts sparking. Then it catches fire.
Fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
Literal fireworks.
Yeah. Which is definitely like we had sex and we felt the fireworks, but also, the garage ends up catching fire, and next we see the dad and a fire truck pulling up out in front of the house at the same time, and the garage is just fully engulfed in flames.
So then we cut to the graveyard with Taffy and Dad. By the way, we didn't say that Lisa's full name is Lisa Swallows.
Yeah. If
that matters.
Yeah, they definitely say it a couple of times in a way that's like a little bit of obviously it's an innuendo.
I'll end you with your endo.
But they're standing over the grave, they're putting some flowers down, and Taffy's like, why are there already flowers here? That's weird. Right. Maybe somebody has a crush on her or something, and the dad's like, who knows?
Dad's like, maybe it was her friends. Right. And Taffy's like, are you fucking real?
Yeah.
Her having friends?
Yeah, and he's like, well, a lot of sickos have like a weird fascination with our family after all the crazy stuff that's happened, so it's probably just that. And
yeah, let's go say hi to your mom and then go to Fuddruckers.
Yeah. But as he turns away, Taffy kind of like has like a look on her face like she noticed something weird about the grave.
She knows what's up.
Well, she looks confused, and then she like walks off, and then the camera kind of goes down, and we see that on Lisa's grave down in the corner is carved "Beloved Wife."
Beloved wife.
Yeah. So, of course, as far as Taffy knows, Lisa is not the wife of anyone, so that's a little strange to see that. But we cut right from that beloved wife to we see like the creature, the boy creature, sitting there on a bench, like his back to us. He's reading a poem. Loud. Yeah. And it's something like, I can't remember. It's something about Mary something.
I think
like
it's Oscar Wilde. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like the Mary is definitely like nodding to Mary Shelley here a little bit.
Shelley. 100%. But there's something right by him. It looks like Lisa's body in bandages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's laying across his lap, fully bandaged up, like, obviously she's severely burned, but also it looks like the Bride of Frankenstein again with like her full bandage kind of thing.
But that's really weird that he would just have a corpse laying on his lap in the middle of a park, right?
Yeah, and then
because it's not a corpse.
Yep, she is alive. She moves, and she's wearing like a dress over the bandages, which is pretty good. But yeah, so she, he has revived her now, and they're gonna get to be, sweet monsters together forever.
Or they're gonna have a murder spree. Either one.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a dark, twisted sweet love story. Yeah. It's not going to change the world. It's not going to win any Oscars, but it's a really cute movie. I had a great time with it. I definitely would recommend it.
Hell yeah. There's nothing wrong. I mean, honestly, like some of the let me double check, Because I don't want to say that people are saying nothing but bad things about this, because I feel like that shouldn't be true, even if it is. Like, I feel like this at the very least, this is going to become a cult classic.
I think so, yeah. Like, it feels like, it feels kind of weird science-y.
Well, 4.2. It's a 4.2 at 50% at Rotten Tomatoes, so that's not bad.
Yeah, that's not a failing, but it's just like kind of mixed, middling kind of reviews. Yeah. But yeah, like, I feel like Warm Bodies had some similarities, and that kind of built up some momentum after the fact. And I feel like this will probably...
This is way better than Warm Bodies.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, this is way better. Yeah.
100%, yeah. And, like, I feel like everybody's on their A game. We've got a lot of great actors that we like in other things.
Shout out to Cole Sprouse, because holy fuck, the acting that guy had to do without saying a single line, like the fact that his facial expression, like, we were cracking up, like, just because of him. Like,
he did a lot. Like, he was really carrying a lot of this movie. And Catherine Newton's great too. Like, and they kind of had like a
Sobrano's Taffy.
It was just like their sort of chemistry. Chemistry is especially important in this case, where she's carrying all the dialogue and he's doing all this kind of mime work. She's kind of having to interpret what he's saying and like make it believable and everything. Yeah, I mean, they both knocked it out of the park. And yeah, Taffy was really great too. I didn't know her from anything, but she really...
Carla Gugino is Carla Gugino. So.
Yeah. She's just brilliant in everything.
Even shout out to Joe Crest, because the fact that this guy somehow pulls off just that I don't give a fuckness of like an old, like, tired dad.
Yeah.
And like he could still make it entertaining is something. It's really impressive.
Yeah. So yeah, this one it's definitely worth it. I mean, like, I guess, is this our first Frankenstein movie of the year? Like, new release. We've got at least 2 more, I think, that are supposed to be coming. Hopefully we'll get some surprise ones in there too. But it's like, man, this is, we're really getting a Frankenstein renaissance. I feel like our first...
It's been spread over a couple years.
Yeah, I feel like our first year on the podcast, we only did old movies because that was the only option. And now it's like, I'm constantly having to reorganize our schedule because new stuff keeps coming out, and it'd be like, oh, we got to talk about that, of course. So it's great. It's I hope this continues. I hope this makes a new, younger set of viewers excited and curious about Frankenstein stuff too.
Right. But if that doesn't speak to the, like, long-lasting... And honestly, like, I think I said that, Frankenstein, or this was like a film for younger women, but also the Book of Frankenstein was by and for younger women anyway. Yeah,
so, absolutely. Yeah.
It's really good that that's still the case.
Absolutely.
Still ongoing.
And yeah, I mean, Diablo Cody, she's done... I just think of her from Juno and Jennifer's Body, but she's done a couple other things. But this kind of does feel like a mix between those two, like it's Juno being like the high school, like, comedy and like the sort of teen sex stuff going on in that, and then Jennifer's Body being sort of like a much darker version. This kind of meets in the middle, where it's dark but it's sweet.
Exactly, it's kind of like a insane version of Romeo and Juliet.
In a way, yeah.
Anything else we got to say about it?
No, I think that's it. Yeah, I mean, I just, it's, while this is still in theaters, I definitely recommend catching it. Sending money to Frankenstein stuff is good. It's only going to keep this wave going if studios think it's a worthy investment. So absolutely check this one out if you can. We definitely give it the seal of approval here.
So, I mean, obviously we've been talking about a lot of girls recently. Our whole show is basically about artifice. So why don't we talk about an artifice girl next week? Yes.
And this one is actually also kind of a new release. Like, I think it came out a year or two ago. It's very different than this. It's almost Frankenstein-y in the exact opposite way. This being like almost a zombie and just kind of like people stitched together. This is more about like really creating life and what counts as life. It's more like some of the AI type movies we've watched, but it's a really fun one. Like, I saw it when it came out, and I'm excited to check it out again because it really kept me on my toes the first time around, and now that I kind of know where it goes, I'd like to see it again with that kind of mindset.
Heck, and this is going to be the first time we have Lance Hendrickson on the show.
Is it? Wow, he seems like he should have been like all over the place with us, but yeah, maybe so.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, where can they find us, Anthony?
Yeah, so you can find us on all the socials at The Frankencast. You can email us at thefrankencast@gmail.com. We're also on YouTube, and of course you can find us at patreon.com/thefrankencast, where we're still doing the free trials. We just, I think, had a couple people join up just recently. You know, we always love to have you over there. There's the free trial where you can see if it fits for you, and then, you know, we'd love to have you stick around if you're enjoying what you hear.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a blast over there.
All right. Well, anything else we got to say?
I think that's it.
Well, in that case, to be continued.
Looks like you survived another episode. The Frankencast is a production of FCR Media. It's hosted by Anthony Bowman and Eric Velasquez. Follow us on Twitter at The Frankencast, or send us a letter at thefrankencast@gmail.com. Our cover art is by Amanda Keller. You can find her at Keller Illustrations on Instagram. Our theme music is by Vivek Abhishek. Thanks for listening.